We have big news out of both Google and Microsoft in relation to sort of their enterprise products and the direction that they're taking with embedding AI into these. This is very fascinating. And I think it brings up a big conversation we're going to have on the podcast today, which is all about distribution. Whoever has the most distribution has a major leg up in this AI war that we are seeing go on right now. So, there's a bunch of interesting things where essentially they're bundling their AI in. They're making people pay a little bit more for it. I personally have had a personal experience with this, my personal grievance, which I will bother you all with shortly. But Connor, tell me, break down exactly what's happening in the story and what you find interesting about it.
I love it, Jaeden. I love this because you were complaining about it off air, and I totally hear you. But listen, Google, Microsoft, two absolutely outstanding companies, guys. I don't think there's just. I know we were kind of like hard on Google, last year for a while, but like both those companies have just come out blazing. But here is the thing, and I talked to both these companies a fair amount. It is the adoption, right? So they know that companies have been using Microsoft 360. Everybody's using Google Suite products, all that kind of stuff. So they have been making tens of billions on their enterprise suite products to everybody. But enterprise suites and companies are no longer satisfied with that. They're like, what about all this AI stuff? Where are we on that? So obviously Microsoft Copilot has gone through its own interesting set of challenges. I think I do a lot of work with companies on enterprise adoption. And one of the challenges that I see, Jaeden, just sort of sidebar, is that places want to get Copilot going, but they're just finding the adoption is very slow. That's kind of like what I do, as you know. But like on this particular story, it's really interesting because this feels like a play for Google and Microsoft to be like, guys, I don't care. You are using this, okay? Playtime is over. You're going to use it. So just kind of a few sort of key things around this. It used to be that Google, if you had the Gemini AI add-on, it was a $20 extra fee. It's same with Microsoft, right? Like people were complaining because it's just these giant add-on fees per month per user get really, really, they really, really add up. So now what Gemini is doing is it's essentially only raising its price by, so it's eliminating that. It's raising its sort of like overall price by $2, which look is not the end. I mean, yeah, at scale, that's the end of the world. But I'm kind of with them on this. I think Jaeden and I are going to fall on opposite sides of the fence on this because I kind of like it. I kind of like that they're like, everybody, you're going to use AI. It's going to be an extra $2. We were going to raise prices anyway, but now we're going to give you this because what Google is going to be doing is it's going to integrate AI into all the workplace tiers. So if you are using Google, shout out to you guys. I want to hear from you guys because I don't know about you, but all of a sudden Gemini is everywhere. It's like a roommate that has moved into my tiny studio apartment. Everywhere I look, Gemini pops up. It's like, hey, Connor, what's up? How can I help you? I'm like, Gemini, it's okay. I got this, man. I love you, respect you, but come on, give me a second. So anyway, so I think that that's going to be huge for adoption. I think it's just going to be such in people's faces that that's going to be huge. And then on the Microsoft thing, it's really interesting, right? So apparently they're raising prices. I didn't know this for the first time since 2013, which is pretty awesome. But it's going to be this Copilot, as you know, integration across all major applications, which I'm dying to see because everybody uses these products. I want to see how this is going to work. But here's the interesting thing, Jaeden, which is that, and I'm wondering if you're going to like this more. I know where your story's going, so I can't wait to hear. But like they're doing sort of like monthly AI credits. Right. So you pay for what you use for like these advanced features and things like that, which in the beginning, I think will be very popular. And then after that, I don't know, Jaeden, for me, from an enterprise, and you're a big business guy, from an enterprise perspective, this is actually not the end of the world because right now it's saying, don't worry, use as much as we're only going to pay for whatever. And then people, I think, are going to be using it so much that they're like, all right, guys, you asked for it. Let's move to a flat fee. So I think that I can see both sort of like positions on this, but you have your own objective, your own opinions on this.
All right. Well, I'll get my grievances out of the way real quick, and then I'll tell you why I think this is probably a smart idea. So recently, I was having to upgrade storage for my podcast studio because we have so much space, and I can't even see the lower tiers, so I can't show you. But they got this. They have essentially all of the features that you're going to get more storage, right? So I think I was on like 2 terabytes. I needed like double that. I was like 5 terabytes. And the option that it gave me was to pay, I was paying like $10 a month. So, okay, everyone don't roast me. I know this isn't a lot of money. It's $10 a month. And I was like, all right, let's double this. And they're like, okay, well, for $20 a month, you can still get 2 terabytes, but you also get Google Gemini. And I'm like, I don't want Google Gemini. I just want my extra 2 terabytes. So I think this is what will frustrate some people with these kind of like bundle things is it's like, make me pay more, but I'm not even getting anything more. I'm just getting the AI. That seems silly to me. So you probably want to start including it in the beginning and roll the cost in. Anyways, once we got past that tier to get to, I think like 5 terabytes was $25. And then they actually were increasing how much storage I got. After that, I was happy. All right, that's my grievance. I'll move on. I think that there is some
Well,
really smart things when it comes to bundling this because they obviously have to pay for it somehow. And it is a fairly useful tool. I was recently on my Google Drive account. And I'm noticing this, like you mentioned, is popping up everywhere. There's this button that says, what can Gemini do? Learn more
yeah,
about a
yeah.
file. And then as soon as you click this, all of a sudden it's pulling up on the side like Gemini summaries, and you could chat right there in your Google Drive, which seems like somewhere where I would not have expected this whole like AI chat thing. And I think they're bringing it everywhere. And all of this is part of Microsoft's big push, or sorry, Google's big push right now. Sundar Pichai said he wants by the end of the year to have 500 million Gemini users. And so I think that they're making some big pushes, or maybe they just hit that. I'm going to pull that article up in a second. The second thing I wanted to talk about, though, is what's going on with Microsoft. So we're seeing kind of like the tale of two big tech giants going on at the
Right,
same
right,
time while they're integrating these. And over at Microsoft, they're doing something that I do actually love. That is that they have a pay as you go plan essentially. And a lot of people are like, oh, what? Right? Like we're so used to these like $20 a month, or even if you want to go crazy for ChatGPT, it's $200 a month. So like, what is this pay as you go? And this is something that I've had to look at with my startup AI Box a lot because like people use different amounts of credits for different amounts of activities, and especially once we start getting agents, there's not going to be a one size fits all for this, right? Like Connor might have 20 agents that run his entire life that are sending emails and creating videos and posting on LinkedIn for him, and I might only have like 2 agents. And so like you have to scale it up. And on top of that, his agents might be doing like 100 tasks a day and mine might be just doing like 4 tasks a day. So at
right.
some point, you're going to just have to pay for what you use because we're going to be using them on such widely different. There's no one size fits all. Everyone pays $20 a month anymore for this stuff. So I think this is a really smart move by Microsoft in regards to that. As we're like, I think they're kind of prepping themselves for, look, this is the year of agents. We're going to be pulling out a lot of these tools. And so this is kind of the no-brainer move that we got to make right now.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And I think that also, I like that you're kind of calling it like the tale of two tech giants. And I think, again, both strategies are totally legit. What they're going for here, folks, is, and and Jaeden has said this before too. You have to remember how much money they're spending on kind of giving access to Gemini. These folks are losing a tremendous amount of look. I mean, no tears are being shed here. These are very, very, high revenue companies here, but they're spending a tremendous amount on giving AI access to everybody. Same with both Google and Microsoft. But what they know is that this is the adoption race right here. You know how we
Yep.
say, "Hey, we got to Google this," right? That's because Google won the adoption race 20 years ago or something. Or it's like, oh, just put it in PowerPoint instead of whatever. Like that's because Microsoft won that adoption race. When we say, hey, just use ChatGPT, that's because ChatGPT won the adoption race 2 years ago. Guys, we're not messing around here. Do you know what I mean? Like this is like, it is, those things are very, very sticky. So whatever you are sort of like using with AI, all these platforms, and Jade, we're not even talking about OpenAI and tasks and all that kind of stuff, right? OpenAI is trying to do this too. They're trying to get you onto their platform and live on their platform. So just kind of like a tiny little sidebar over here with tasks, which just came out, which I know you saw as well. OpenAI is trying to sort of like get you to put all your reminders, your calendar invites, all that kind of stuff, your search engine, everything in one platform, so you don't have to leave essentially Chat GPT. Google is trying to do it where it's like, well, I don't have to go over to Perplexity to search for this. I don't have to do it. Microsoft, same thing. We can argue that all these had, like, oh, they were already living on that space, but they're not thinking about today. They're thinking about in like 2 or 3 years, and will they start to bleed, sort of like out, especially with, Google, when Google makes so much of their money on ads, and Perplexity is still very, very small compared to those things. but they're worth billions of dollars now. So
Yeah.
again, these are companies that are operate on share price, and share price and all that stuff. Those markets move based on these things. Like it's like, yeah, well, what's the problem? We still have 8 billion users. It's like, you don't think Apple's freaking out when their Apple Intelligence doesn't work? So again,
Yep.
this is going to be interesting. Explore it for yourself, guys. I'd love to hear from you guys. Sort of, is this working for you? Are you using Gemini more now that it's in your face? Are you using Copilot or whatever it is now that it's in your face? They are driving adoption. They're willing to spend anything on it because that's where the big money is with enterprise.
Yep, and I think both Microsoft and Google are in a cutthroat race, but it's one that they have to win. It feels like a very much winner takes all, and I
Yeah,
think that
I
they
think
both have enough of an edge. They know that if they really push, they can make some big adoption. So Google's big goal that Sundar announced yesterday was 500 million Gemini AI users by the end of the year. This is what they're pushing for. And this is massive when you're looking at, ChatGPT that I think last I heard was at 300 million monthly active users. So, I mean, you could argue that ChatGPT will grow a lot by the end of the year, but let's say it does, and these two companies are eclipsing usage. You're also seeing Meta with some absolutely insane numbers on usage of their
yeah.
AI models. These companies are going all out. It's going to be fascinating to see how this goes. If you enjoyed the podcast today, if you learned anything new, the number one thing that would just make our day is if you could leave us a review on the podcast. For everyone that has already left a review, we give you a big thank you, round of applause for you. But for anyone else, if you wouldn't mind doing it, it would make a big difference. We'd really appreciate it. And we hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day.